Okay, I cannot program long today. Gotta get going here. But where we left off was we've got our waves rendering to screen, right? And then it disappears. We need to offset the spawns to be once the wave disappears, but that'll be easy enough. We just don't want to do that just yet for testing purposes. And then what we are trying to do is we're trying to move a group of logic like this. So like if our wave is 1, we get 3 enemy objects. Then we need to give ourselves print score objects within our scores table for that amount of enemy objects. And then we need to initialize the dummy values for an enemy object amount of global tables here, so that we can modify them and take them out of the graveyard and start updating them once they spawn. If we don't do that, then we crash whenever we try to index a nil value. I'm thinking we can move pterodactyl out of the wave logic, because it doesn't really matter what wave it's in all waves, so we can probably take that out of our wave 1 logic. But then here, so this is what we're trying to factor out into a function, all this. So we need to be able to say, hey, how many enemy objects do we have? Then set an appropriate, see, this is tough. Because we'll be decrementing the spawn timer, but then the rate at which things get spawned needs to happen a second apart from one another. So we have to do something. I think I'm gonna build out the function kind of right here, because I need to reference what I'm looking at. And then we can worry about implementing it and seeing if it scales and everything. So the goal is to write a function that we pass in the amount of enemy objects. In wave 1's case, that's 3 enemy objects. And that'll spawn 3 different instantiations of a vulture and insert it into our vultures table. Take that vulture out of the graveyard so it can start updating. And we add time to our pterodactyl timer for every living vulture. Let's see what our wave advance does. That's the function we wrote yesterday. We pass it in an amount of enemies. And yeah, we advance the wave if all the eggs are collected. Okay. So yeah, we want to run a similar kind of function for like spawn enemies. Yeah. Now, our spawn enemies function will take in the amount of enemy objects just like that. So ideally, all we do is run this function, spawn enemies, with the amount of enemy objects, and then we'd have to do that for every different wave, but then we're at least not doing a chunk of code this big. Or bigger. It would be bigger for every subsequent wave because we spawn more enemies. So we have to figure out how to implement this spawn enemies function that will do the same thing as this is currently doing. So, how do we go about that? So the first thing that it's doing is decrementing our spawn timer, our vulture spawn timer, if that number is greater than 0. Otherwise, it's just going to set that number equal to 0. So we need a variable. We need a variable that is going to be changed depending on the amount of enemies we're trying to spawn. If we give it 4 enemies, we need to spawn. We need the spawn timer at 9. So we need to do some things. Let's see what our vulture spawn timer is getting initialized at. Probably 10. Yeah, 10. So what we need to do, if this is what the implementation of using the function is, we need to actually write our function somewhere. Well, we need to write it outside of our update function so that we can call it in our update function. So I'm just going to be typing in our update function for now. Then we can worry about moving it and testing it later, just trying to get it started. So we would have a function, and that function would be called we can say function. How do you do it? You say function spawn enemies, yeah, or spawn. So if that's our function, spawn enemies, takes in a parameter enemy objects. So cool. So what we can do first in our function is say we want to assign our vulture spawn timer according to the enemy amount. So if an enemy amount of 3 gets us a spawn timer starting at 10, that would be an enemy amount plus 7. So we can say we take this parameter, give it plus 7. That'll be the starting time for us to decrement our spawn timer. Then we can go ahead and do this first line here, where we say so, if our spawn timer is greater than 0, we're going to go ahead and decrement it. But this is getting. We also need to pass it in. Now we need to decrement. Okay, this can't be in our function, our spawn enemy function, but we will assign vulture spawn timer based on the enemy amount in our that we're passing in. So yeah, imagine this function being declared outside of the update function, but for now we're trying to figure it out. So we will keep our vulture spawn timer in our update because we need access to delta time so that we can decrement it, and we can't assign a value to our vulture spawn timer. Yeah, we just need it to be in the update function because that needs to change every frame. Our function spawn enemies is just ran once, not every second. So it'll kind of instantiate all our vultures that we need once, and then our update function will take care of updating them. So now. We do need to change our vulture spawn timer based on the enemy amount, but we need to keep our decrement outside of the function. Then let's go ahead and just take this for now. So if we put this in our function, now instead of smaller than 9, it would be smaller than, oh god. See, and this is messed up because this doesn't exactly work. Because we do need this function to work over time. Shit. We do need this function to work over time because it needs to spawn vultures depending on the spawn timer. That's when it instantiates them and takes them out of the graveyard. So we need to rethink this. Yeah, we need to... I think we need to pull the assignment out. It's like we need to pass in DT as well. We actually don't need to pass in DT, it's global, so we should just be able to use it. Yeah. I guess I'm just gonna take this and put it where it belongs, which is out of the update function. But we do need to modify it based on DT. God dang. Oh. Yes, how does the function work if we potentially need to call it, you know, hundreds of times until they're done spawning? Because right now what they're doing is now if it's in wave 1, it does ask this every single frame, and we kind of need that because we don't know when to instantiate them until we compare it to their vulture spawn timer, which is getting decremented by delta time. So the problem is we can't just put a function here instead. Actually, we could, and we can. We just have to make sure... Yeah, we should have access to delta time in our function. So I think this can work. But where is it? Where is it? Where do we put it? Did we not put it anywhere? I didn't put it anywhere. I swear there's a way to move this. Shit. Okay. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so if this is our spawn enemies function, yeah, we need to not... We can't assign the spawn timer at the beginning of the function because the function's being called every single frame in our wave. So we have to move this out somewhere. Yeah, what we need to do... We need to do this not in the function, but we need to assign it based on the wave advance. So once we advance wave, oh, shit. I don't get it. It's like we need another function even. But it's like, yeah, it's like we need a function called function vultureSpawn timer populate. And what that does is ask what wave we're on. If wave is equal to 1, then we need to assign our spawn timer by the enemy amount plus 7, but what this really is 3. I'll leave the arithmetic here because this first number is the amount of enemy objects, and then the 7 is how many seconds we need to ensure we have enough time to spawn them all back to back without being all at once. So it's like we would need to call this function only once upon our wave advance. Well, actually, we call wave advance every frame. Shit. Yes, we call wave advance every frame, but that's okay because we only do this function. We only execute these lines if all of our stuff is collected, and by the time this advances, we become uncollected in all of our eggs and stuff. At least that's how it should work. So we should be able to call our vultureSpawn timer populate function here, and we pass it in the wave. We actually just pass in our wave variable, but our parameter will be wave number, and then if our wave number is equal to 1, and we just need to make sure to define this function before our wave advance function. Actually, I don't think that'll really matter. But the problem here was we don't want to assign our vultureSpawn timer over and over and over again. We only want to assign it once upon us switching waves. So once we switch waves, once we're about to switch waves, we increment our wave, we run our vultureSpawn timer populate with that wave, and then as long as we flesh out this this function with all of our possible wave amounts. So if our wave number is 2, then we're going to go ahead and set our vultureSpawn timer to be equal to 4 objects plus that 7-second buffer. And then that way we don't keep assigning our vultureSpawn table, our vultureSpawn timer amount every single frame, even though we have to call our spawn enemies every single frame. So that's at least a start. We need to build this out for every wave number. But we do run that function in our wave advance. So Yeah, we should only run this once upon a wave change. Then we don't run it anymore because on the wave change, our eggs table dot collected will get reset to false. So then it'll come in here, it'll say that this is false. So it'll exit the loop here instead of calling this function every single frame. Okay. I know that's not great for a day's work, but I don't have a lot of time left, so we're just gonna have to continue this tomorrow. At least we got a decent little start. There was so much friction for me feeling this because I was just daunted by it, but at least we got a kind of template. We've got it kind of conceptualized in our brain for how we're going to tackle it. So we can say started vulture time, vultureSpawn timer function, and started vultureSpawn timer. Actually, started vultureSpawn function and started vultureSpawn function and implement a vultureSpawn timer function. It's not very clear, but it's not a super clean commit anyway, but I'll catch you guys tomorrow and we will program some more.